Welcome to 3P Perspectives. No, 3P Conversations, multiple perspectives.
Yes.
One day I'm going to get that right.
Not today.
Not today. 3P Conversations, multiple perspectives. And our initial theme is luck.
Yes.
With, I'm guessing, what will be a side rant on why positive thinking is bullshit and we shouldn't do it.
All right, I will stop thinking positive thoughts right now. It's easier to think the negative ones anyway.
Well, I'm not necessarily advocating for the negative ones, but the concept of positive thinking, I have some thoughts.
I'm sure. Can't wait to hear them.
I have many thoughts. Some are positive, some are negative. And the fact that we label them as positive and negative is part of what bothers me.
Yes.
When we move into a space, so there was a book we were reading the other day, and I say we, I'm in 4 group mentoring sessions at the moment with different coaches and various people. One of them, we're doing a book study, and in that we're looking at, or we were looking at, this concept of positive thinking. And the opening sentence in the recap was, we shouldn't judge our thoughts. I'm like, great, I'm on board with that. No.
Okay.
Judging our thoughts comes with
I could
judgment.
squibble with the wording, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can too, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take that one on face value. The next thought was that we need to have more positive thoughts than negative. And I can't bring together, do not judge your thoughts, whilst labeling them as positive and negative. So either I judge my thoughts and I have to have more positive than negative, fine, understand that. Several references over the years. The one that jumps to mind is the positive psychology. They talk about positive psychology reps, and they talk about making sure there's more positive that outweighs the negative, because otherwise you go down this negative spiral. But that is judging our thoughts. If we're labeling them as positive and negative as opposed to simply thoughts, then we're judging them as good or bad. And if the first line is, do not judge your thoughts, then how do we measure if we're having more good than bad because we didn't judge them as good and bad to start with?
Okay. Again, I am accepting this for the sake of argument, because we could spend a half an hour just on definitions and wording there, and I don't feel like doing that. So yeah, I know what you're saying, and that's good enough. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the definitions and the wording matters. The essence of the message, and I can get, like, I can quibble over, I mean, you've seen me, we do it all the time. The pair of us quibble over, and we do it with, what I love in discussing with you, debating with you, is that it always comes from, for both of us, this place of curiosity.
Yeah.
We're definitely coming from, oh, I don't know that I agree with the way you've just phrased that. I'm not sure that that definition lands for me quite clearly. Tell me more. There is never an element of, oh my God, you're wrong. There's sometimes elements of, I don't see it that way, which is not far from, I think you're wrong. Depending on the tone of voice that I'm using when I deliver, I'm not sure that I see it your way. I have a shirt, actually, I have like 3 or 4 of them. We buy the kids the same shirts for Christmas, and I make them take one photo of all 6 or 7 of us in the same shirts. I think I got a photo this year. I think I managed to escape the photo this year.
That's fun.
That's naughty of them to have escaped the photo. Anyway, afterwards, some of them don't necessarily keep the shirts, and I end up with several different sizes, which works for me quite nicely. I like really quite large, oversized ones when I'm in different stages of my cycle, and I really like quite fitted ones in other sizes. So the multiple sizes works quite nice for me. One of the shirts that I've got is, I could agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. And that energy often is, I was like, if I agree with you, then we're both wrong. But there are layers of it's near enough. And I'm not sure I necessarily agree with all of my definitions and the statements in this because
Oh,
I'm pulling from
yeah.
somebody else's. But the essence of don't judge your thoughts, coupled with how to rate whether you're doing well at having good and bad thoughts, just the disparity between those two statements frazzled my brain. And I managed to, like you are, I managed to sit with it the other day. I'm like, I think I get the essence of what you're saying, and I'm just going to bite my tongue because now is not the time to have an hour debate over the semantics of that
Yeah.
language.
And, you can, because if you're not judging your thoughts, but then you're judging your outcome by the number of thoughts that are categorized certain ways, then that's, as opposed to judging your outcome by, like, am I regulated and am I getting good results in life and am I functioning the way I would prefer to and am I
Yeah.
taking aligned action, right?
Which I think leads into my other rant about this is for years I've had coaches, and I'm talking like for decades, and I haven't worked with a coach that does mantras in quite some time. But
Mm-hmm.
the bringing in the mantras, it's like just look in the mirror and say you love yourself until you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Look in and I find the inauthenticity of vocalizing something to make myself believe it. And there are elements where I can embody that a little bit, where I do need to convince myself, and speaking it out loud does help me, but I recognize that it is a convincing action.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody else has given me the mantra, then I'm not going to follow somebody else's mantra for me ever.
Right.
The say it until you believe it, I really struggle with when I don't feel it first.
Mm.
So there are times where I can feel my system has come into, like, my physical form, my body has come into alignment with a new way of being, and my mind needs to catch up.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
those moments, the affirmations work well
Mm-hmm.
because I'm speaking what's down deep in my core true for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm bringing my mind on board and bringing it into unification, or at least most of it. There's generally always a part in my brain
Yeah.
that'll disagree with whatever I'm saying.
That makes sense. I think for us, if we are open to believing it, then speaking it out loud can have a certain kind of power for us. But we have to at least be open to believing it and feeling it.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
the just speaking it, just looking in the mirror and saying it when we get up in the morning, there still has to be more going on. That can be one component of getting us
Yes.
there. We also have to be open to thinking maybe this thing we're saying really is true. And what would that feel like? And maybe,
Yeah.
that could be pretty great. And
For me, that openness generally has to come with a taste of the potential. Now, that taste
Mhm.
can be in my imagination, and
Mhm.
I often do active imagination. I think it was Carl Jung that coined the term active imagination.
Mhm.
And it, in essence, is an active dream state. So you go into like a hypnotic
Yes.
space, and you're not necessarily hypnotized, but that hypnotic space where you're open to suggestion and allow yourself to explore the different ideas. And for
Yeah.
me to be able to stand in front of the mirror or do whatever and tap into that affirmation, I must first have had that
Mm.
visualization and that connection to, I see the possibilities here.
Yeah. And the brainwave state does help. We have learned to put ourselves in a theta brainwave state,
Mm,
like on demand if we want to. It may take a few minutes, but we can just do, like, we're going to go into a theta state. And as long as we are in a safe environment, and
yeah,
we can make that happen. And we have some of our meditations we only do in that theta state for that very reason, because we have to be open to the possibilities. We have to be able to let our imagination run wild and have random images flash across. We have to be able to
yeah,
open to whatever the universe might be trying to get us to see in the moment. And we
Yeah.
can't do that if we're like, in the middle of some hyper intellectual task.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I've had the language for it, but I definitely do that reasonably well. And I've had to learn with certain coaches in my early days where we were doing peer coaching and the coach was not yet aware of the impact that words could bring in
Mm.
that space. I had to learn to bring a filter because I was so open to
Mm-hmm.
suggestion. And there was a training I did, I can't remember if it was how to run a successful workshop or the Metadynamics 3 facilitator training. And the presenter was going through all of the different archetypes and just
Mm.
like literally a minute on stage. It must have been at How to Run a Successful Workshop, but it was the pitch into Meta 3 and come and learn how to tap into these archetypes and the facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was in the audience, anybody else wouldn't have known that it was the pitch, but it's like this is what you'll get a taste of at this event. And
Mm-hmm.
I see that very easily. I've had many conversations, even at Meta 3. So Meta 3, we were learning how to pitch, and I know I've gone on a side tangent. We'll go down the side tangent, we'll come back. Meta 3, we were learning how to pitch from stage. And on the Tuesday afternoon, he said, tomorrow I've got a surprise for you. And I walked to the back of the room and I handed over my credit card and said, what am I buying? Because I knew I was going to upgrade to whatever the next thing was. I
Yeah.
then went out to dinner with a bunch of people that had been in the training. We're learning how to do this, how to plant seeds and pitch from stage.
Mm.
And I said to this room, who had been sitting in the same room as me, learning that the seeding and the how this works, and I said, who else got, I can't remember what the offer, I think it was Ultimate Pitch. It was like the next generation of whatever it was. Who else bought it? And they all went, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there
Mm.
was an offer that was, he didn't say anything about an offer. He said he has a surprise for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and went, I thought I was literal. Like, there's this moment of
And they're waiting for like balloons to drop, and
no
I.
idea what they were waiting for. But I was the only one of the 30 people in the room learning to sell from stage that realized that I have a surprise for you tomorrow morning was code for I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
try and sell you something.
Yeah. I'm not sure what else it would mean.
And it baffled me. Now, on a side note, while we're being deliberately obvious and snarky's the wrong word, but
Yes,
at the
it's the
end of
right
this,
word,
I have
and
a
it's okay.
surprise for you. At the end of this, I might promote my community and welcome
Yeah.
you to come and join us.
Yes, because that's how this
That's how
works in
this
the online
works.
space. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's free. You can come for free. There's no price tag attached. Mind you, in complete transparency, when you get in there, I'm going to let you know that there is an opportunity for you to buy something. That's
Mm-hmm.
how this works. But it baffled me. Anyway, why did I go down that? Where did that rabbit hole start? Let's see if I can retrace my steps back to where we went off the path.
Well, I don't know. The subject was either luck or
Oh,
the poo monster. So,
the the archetypes. So he was moving through the energies of each of these archetypes,
mm,
and he stepped into preacher, and instantly my entire physiology leant forward, and I would have done
mm,
anything.
mm,
And I noticed it, and he was only in the energy for sort of 30 seconds to a minute, and I noticed it and went, I got to do something about that. Like, I am way too susceptible to
mm-hmm.
other people's influences in that preacher
In that
energy.
archetype, and I mean, I'm sure there were other things that go into it, but yeah, in when the right circumstances are present,
Yeah,
and we have been on both sides of that. We have been like, "What's your surprise? I'll go ahead and get it now,"
yeah.
and and we have been the one. There are some of us, not as much me. I don't know, we're very switchy today. So we're Julian now, but we
I was
weren't.
going to say, I did notice, I think there's been 3 or 4 that have.
There have been at least 3 or 4 gone through just in the last 15 minutes, and we
Yeah,
may not be
which
me
is
for long.
fine.
But like Amber and Ian and a couple others, they speak from stage, and they could like have people charging a machine gun nest. without even trying, right?
Yeah. There's that suggestibility though. So when I was working with coaches, to go back to the original piece, I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn to be careful of what I allowed in that theta state where I was in light hypnosis, because the majority of people, you need to work a little bit to get people to go into that state. Like you've got to warm them up and you've got to have the tone right and they've got to feel safe and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the close your eyes and drop into that state, if I choose to, and I now
Mm-hmm.
choose not to more often than I choose to, depending on the environment that I'm in, because I've
Mm-hmm.
learnt that I am so suggestible. Everyone keeps telling me I should go and try like the magic mushroom stuff and the ayahuasca and the all of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I dread to think I'm already so suggestible without any of that,
Oh,
that
yeah.
I have no idea what level of depth I would go to if we added a chemical component to this
Yeah.
open to influence.
Well, I have heard some friends I know, they're like, when we're doing an event, we do our offer at a live event after lunch because people have food coma, right? They're sleepy at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. There's all that's a
Yeah,
whole
there's a
different
whole,
rabbit
yeah.
hole. In terms of the mantras and tapping into luck and tapping into that sort of state of influence, knowing how to put ourselves into that state, but also, as we said, it's the being open to it. And for me, that openness starts with that I've had the emotional experience of it, and tapping into
Mhm.
that emotional experience of it is easy for me because I just tap into that. What I imagine for me is a theta state. I've never tested on brainwave, but I imagine it's
Mhm.
similar. What I find though is that so often I step into that space and what somebody else is suggesting I tap into doesn't align for me. And so statements like look in the mirror and say you love yourself. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I can, and I absolutely could step into that. I did. I did a month of standing naked in front of the mirror and I love you and genuinely meant it. And it was like, and I walk past the mirror now and I catch sight of myself in the mirror. There's an old lady in the mirror. I don't know how she got so old.
Yeah.
And there's a whole poem sitting there
I
waiting to
didn't,
be
when I said
written
yeah,
on
I
that.
meant I can identify, not that I'm calling you an old lady. Sorry.
See, now until you said that, it didn't even occur to me that you might have been
Well,
agreeing
and
that I
it was
was
also, I
alive.
figured you knew that, but just for the benefit, I was not saying, yeah, I walk past the mirror sometimes or after a shower, and some of us are inside are like, oh, that's right, that's our body. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, see, for me, even when it is the princess inside, so my little that is dominant, and she's made up of
Hmm.
multiple different
Yeah.
elements herself. We're not going down a rabbit hole of creating
No,
parts for the little today. Um, no, maybe we are. Um,
we can go anywhere we want.
not right now.
Not right.
Maybe later.
Huh?
The version that she sees in the mirror is quite confronting because it's so
Mm,
far from the young, youthful child. And she always smiles back.
mm,
So there was a moment the other week, and I looked in the mirror, and there was an old lady looking back, and she was tired and she was wrinkly and she looked sad.
mm,
And I smiled at her and she smiled back. And those, when we can look in the mirror and see that disconnect between who we think we are and what our physical form represents, because they don't
mhm,
always align, if we can smile into that,
mhm,
it changes the game.
mhm,
And for so long, I would walk past the mirror going, ugh. And that, ugh, also changes the game. But when I can, and there is no bad parts. There are no bad physical forms. There just is what there is.
mm.
which brings us back to the judgment piece. And there are the same with our thoughts. If we can look at the thoughts and go, oh, where did that come from? How do we love that? How do we, whereas what I see so many people doing is having those thoughts, trying to eradicate them. And it's the same when I uncover a part. So there's a shadowy part of me that is definitely the third alter ego of, so I've got the wizard, and recently I uncovered, I've got the woodcutter was uncovered a long time ago, also known as Wiry Man for anyone that's been watching the journey for a little while. They are alter egos. They are never in the same place at the same time. Like, think Superman, Clark Kent. You cannot get them in, well, they're always in the same place at the same time, but you never see them side by side. Like, they're literally the same person. And the wizard wears his robes and his beard, and the woodcutter does not have a beard, and most of the time doesn't have a shirt on. Like, he is quite happily out cutting wood. He's quite skinny and scrawny, hence Wiry Man. He's not like a buff woodcutter.
Right.
But there is a third component of them, which is this shadow. And for a long time, that shadow was rejected because it's a shadow. It's a dark, like if you're in a story and you've got a wizard and you've got a woodcutter and you've got a weird shadowy figure in the forest, you're not inviting the weird shadowy figure in the forest in for dinner. It's going to eat you. And it does eat us. Like, it can consume us well and truly and take the entire forest into blackness if it chooses to. But when we invite it in for tea, it chooses not to. If we ignore it, it becomes passive aggressive and it chooses to plunge everything into a deep, dark fog. And so there's a kid's book called The Tiger for Tea. I don't remember anything other than the title, but it just popped up in my head. And I think it lives on the roof, and she's trying to convince the mother to let the tiger come in for tea. But we need to let the tiger come in for tea. And yes, it's a big, scary animal, and it could kill us and it could eat us. But it could do that whether we let it in or not. And if we let it in and we're friendly and compassionate and caring, we get a very different result than if we try and put it in a box or a circle. For anyone that's seen Inside Out, it's that moment where joy sticks sadness in the circle. It's like, stay in the circle.
Yeah.
But sadness was the pathway out of the chaos that joy had created. And sadness is often the pathway out of the chaos that we create in an attempt to avoid all of those other emotions. And I'm reminded of Joe Parnay's model. I think it's Joe Parnay's model. I learned it from Joe Parnay. It's the 5 levels of uncertainty. And if we neglect uncertainty by building too much certainty, then the universe will rock us to bring that back in balance. There has to be a balance between certainty and uncertainty, but we get to choose our flavors of uncertainty.
Ooh, what does that mean?
And so he talks about these 5 levels. So the first, well, the level that most people recognize are the problems and the crisis. So they're levels 4 and 5. And if we don't meet our uncertainty needs through levels 1, 2, and 3, because we don't know they exist, then we will encounter problems and crises to balance the certainty. And what happens is we build the certainty. I need a stable, secure, safe, loving space. And the universe says, well, kinda. And you need some uncertainty as well as your certainty. You can't have. And I remember years ago, I was in this amazing space with my coaching cohort moving through. I was being celebrated as the WoW team used to do the celebration. What were we called? I can't remember. But in essence, I was being held up as like the most wonderful coach of the week. And there was flowers sent, and there was video, and there was like party poppers and celebration, and all of this amazing, you are wonderful, we love you, keep hanging out in our community, being awesome. And as they were filming the live stream video in TCI headquarters and streaming it to Facebook, so I was at home, not being in that. As they were filming it, I was on the phone to our tenant being called more swear words than I've ever heard in the past. And I was the devil's spawn, and I had no compassion, and I was evil because I was expecting them to pay their rent for living in our house.
Oh, no.
And it was 4 months of them not having paid rent, and I had reached if you don't pay a sizable sum of this rent this week, then we're going to have to go down the path of legal action. And so she's abusing me, and won't you think she had 5 kids and like all of this stuff. So I'm getting this like massive, and I hung up the call from her and I opened Facebook, and the first thing on my Facebook feed was, "You are amazing and you are our like spotlight member of the week." So I'd built all of this certainty and all of this stability and all of this Amy is awesome energy, but I hadn't layered in any of the variety or the adventure or the challenge, which are the first 3 levels of uncertainty. And the universe went, well, you've got all of this certainty, and from that space, we're going to give you some problems, and we're going to take it. You didn't listen to the problem. Like 4 months of not getting rent, I'd had problems for a little while. You didn't listen to the problem. Now we're going to give you a crisis.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I needed to balance the certainty with the uncertainty. And when we can balance it, it's like, oh, look, I've got some more certainty. Now I'm going to balance it with a little bit of variety. I'm going to shake up the menu plan. I'm going to shake up the teenagers. Like there's plenty of opportunities for me to create variety. There's plenty of opportunities for all 5 of these levels in my home. But variety is a nice little, it's a little balance. Like, okay, well, I've got a little bit of certainty. Let's have a little bit of variety.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've got a lot of certainty. Let's find a big-ass challenge to go after. And so when we stepped into homeschooling, because I could see we had a lot of certainty. The kids were going to school. The routine was stable. My business was stable. Everything was stable and secure. My husband's job was stable. Everything in a really good place. And so I opted into the challenge in a hope of balancing it out, not necessarily consciously, but unconsciously, of home educating my kids. Clearly it didn't work because the universe threw us a couple of other significant problems and crises that year. However, when we've got that foundation and we see, oh, look, this is just the balance of certainty and uncertainty. It's the yin and yang. It's the universe will balance out. And so if we're trying to have more positive thoughts than negative, or more positive experiences than what we're judging as negative, and the fact that we're judging them is where part of the problem comes in. Because the universe doesn't judge them as positive and negative. The universe, and we're still in judging and categorizing, but the universe is looking at certainty and uncertainty. And is that balance in harmony? Or at least that's my perception, and I'm making shit up. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's my perception in this moment. It seems to be working quite well for me. So you can try and dissuade me, but I don't like your chances. And I don't think you're going to attempt
I'm
to.
not interested in dissuading you.
Anybody else can try and dissuade me. And so if we are deliberately seeking out all of these places of certainty and stability, which is what we tend to do when we've been in a crisis, I've got to balance this with stability and certainty. And then there comes a point where we tip over the scale. Imagine one of those old balance scales. You start to add too much certainty, there's not enough uncertainty. And while we're still recovering emotionally from, and like nervous system wise, from that previous crisis, the universe doesn't care. The universe is like, we've got to bring that into balance. And so for us to bring in, okay, well, I've got this much certainty, which means I need to bring in this much variety, uncertainty. And variety and adventure are the sort of the lower 2, and then challenge is so when we've built our certainty to a certain degree, we have to embrace the challenges. And then if we embrace too much challenge, then we'll have to restore with the certainty. But it's this balance point. And sometimes that can switch quite gradually. And sometimes that switches quite rapidly. I know you were saying before we jumped on the recording, you've had several of those up and downs in the last 2 or 3 weeks where you've noticed that disparity between, well, I was certain and now I'm not certain and now I am, and it's that up and down. And so just being aware that those ups and downs are the universe trying to balance it. And I don't know whether it's the universe. I don't think anything is out to get us. I actually think it's our own reticular activating system and our own internal guides that are trying to keep us in balance, and we do it to ourselves. Thoughts, feelings? I told you I could rant for a little while on this.
We love your rants, so that's great. And we're very switchy, so we're trying to retain as best we can.
That's okay. I'm not switchy and I can't retain either, so we're in good company.
Well, we were just talking with our sponsor yesterday morning about, like, especially if you've come from trauma or childhood situations where things were backwards, where as a child you had to be the caretaker because your parents were the children. You tend to have controlling tendencies. You want to control your environment and the people around you because then you have certainty, and certainty is safety, and you know, and then of course that stuff backfires. And then so we have been trying to remember how little we have control over and embrace uncertainty around the rest of that, and realize that the only thing we're responsible for is how we respond to all this sort of stuff. And and then just the last few weeks, something outside of our control would happen, or over which we had maybe some influence, like tripping and falling and breaking or losing something, but it's still kind of a random event. And then we would start to see the old spiraling thought pattern and recognize it and get out of it quicker than we used to, and then be like, no, why don't we see what happens? Everything's probably going to turn out fine. And then sure enough, after a few days, everything does turn out fine and we're doing great. And then boom, the next thing. And this was like basically an every 2 to 3 day pattern over the last couple of weeks, resulting finally in a car wreck last night, which is going to be the most challenging of all the situations over the last few weeks, just because of various circumstances surrounding it. And
it's a lot.
And it's easy to go down. See, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we shouldn't get excited about things. This is why we shouldn't enjoy ourselves, because everything goes to shit anyway. And, and then you add on the whole we're a piece of shit, blah, 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 right? This all. So, today is probably the most challenging day so far, because we were in a really good place, nervous system wise and mentally and emotionally, that we'd worked on a lot yesterday. And as soon as it was literally like within minutes or maybe within 30 minutes of being like, wow, we did it. We can do this. Look at what a great place we're in now. Half an hour later, boom, the car gets hit.
Yeah. And yet you're still in a great place.
Well, we literally, while we were waiting for the tow truck, we had a bunch of stuff in the car because we'd actually spent the day at a hospital with a buddy. Making sure he was in no position to advocate for himself, and so he actually signed the release form so that we could advocate for him and make sure he got the treatment and everything. And so, and we didn't want to leave, like they did the shift turnover, and we didn't want to leave till he had met the night shift, until he knew that we were leaving, and the whole thing. And a lot of that was part of us getting a good place. And then on the way home, this happens, and then while we're waiting for the tow truck, we got out our journal, because we had packed our journal and our computer and everything for the day at the hospital, and we started a gratitude list in the moment. And it was things like, we are unhurt, our body is fine from this, and there was no physical injury whatsoever, not even a little whiplash or nothing, just because the angle of the hit. And so we are unhurt, and we still have each other, and we have a loving wife, and we have the best kittens, and we have friends who care about us, and we have a safe bed to sleep in tonight, and we have plenty of food to eat, and all, and it didn't take long to fill up a page. And that kind of goes to, the positive thinking, right, thing, except that, it's in a sense, it was trying to fake it till we make it with the gratitude list, but these are all things we really are grateful for, also.
Yeah.
And so we were
Yeah.
able to find things that we truly are grateful for to then sit there and no, let's just keep reading our gratitude list right now and focus on that because we could go into the whole, well, if we'd left the hospital 30 seconds later or 30 seconds sooner or taken a different route home, because just the way it works, there were like 10 different routes we could have taken home and we could have turned left instead of right. And
Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs and
mm-hmm,
see what I'm hearing in what you're describing isn't necessarily positive thinking. It was grounded thinking. How do I ground myself back in reality?
mm-hmm,
And what is true, and true is a tricky word, but what is true right now? Because you can go down that path of what if. None of that would
mm-hmm,
be like that's all going down a weird tangent. But what was true was your physical form was fine.
uh-huh,
You have a loving wife. They're not necessarily positive thought. They brought positive emotion for you, is what
mm-hmm,
I'm hearing. They were factual thoughts.
mm-hmm. These things are true, and we really are grateful that all these things are true.
And so to me, that's a very grounded thought.
Mm-hmm,
And I see so much value in that grounding exercise. Like it's what are five things? What can you see, hear, feel? Like what can you touch right now? Like what are
yeah.
five things you can see? And what you were tapping into, well, what are five things that I know to be true that bring a positive emotion for me? And
And we listed like 30 things.
yeah,
And it wasn't
and
even hard to come up with 30 things.
which is so much progress from where you've been in the
Mhm.
past. The other thing that I heard, and I don't want to dismiss your experience, I definitely
Yeah.
validate and acknowledge it's a big experience and there's a lot been going on for you these last couple of weeks. The other thing I heard was you are so if we think about this balance scale, for
Mhm.
most of us, they're broken. And they're, when you set a scale, if you put something on one side and then you set it so that it's even, you can like change the calibration of the
Mhm.
scale so that
Yeah.
there's something already sitting on the uncertainty side and it thinks that there isn't.
Yeah.
For those of us that were raised in chaotic environments that were filled with uncertainty, our set point is, I don't like the word broken, our set point is miscalibrated. And what I'm hearing from you is you are recalibrating your balance scale set point.
Yeah. Well, and I was
And
raised in an environment that was very physically certain. We never wanted for anything tangible. It was incredibly safe and certain in terms of a roof over our head and food on our belly and money in our pocket. But it was emotionally chaotic.
yeah, my circumstances are quite similar. I never wanted for any, like the physical environment was very stable and very
Mhm.
certain. And there were other elements that were less stable and less certain. And I think that would be the case for most people. Like there's very, like even my own children were raised in, there's certainly the first 5 or 6 years of having children, my self-regulation was shit. And so
Right.
they didn't have a regulated mum. They didn't have, and even now it's far less frequent, but on Thursday night, we had
Mhm.
mummy meltdown night. Probably the
Mhm.
first time in a couple of weeks. Mummy had a lot of stuff on last week and she reached her
Yeah.
tipping point, and
Mhm.
that's okay. So most of us are being exposed to people who don't know how to self-regulate, and while it's not okay, it's also not something most of us chose. I didn't choose to be a shit mother. I just
Mhm.
was. And my kids and most people around me would argue that I'm not as shit as I think I am. And yet, in terms of what I wish that I had been able to give to my children, I don't come anywhere near what I would have liked. And
Mhm.
I've done a fuck ton of work. And the version of me that shows up today is 99% of the way there. Like there are the odd days where I have those meltdowns. But recalibrating. So when emotional instability is familiar, we mistake that for normal, and that's what our nervous system gets calibrated to. The first time I sat like in a house, I was regulated, the house was clean. I think the kids had all gone off to daycare or were playing happily somewhere, and I was sitting in this space of,
Mm-hmm.
from what outside looked like there should be like peace and harmony and contentment,
Mm-hmm.
and it was terrifying
Mm-hmm.
because it was so unfamiliar. Because the nervous system doesn't work on good and bad, the nervous system works on familiar and unfamiliar. And
Yeah.
unfamiliar is scary as fuck, and familiar, even if it should be scary, is seen as safe. And so what I'm hearing as you're sharing your story is you're in this state of recalibrating the scale. And when we recalibrate those old balance scales, we screw up the set point for a little while. Like if we
Mm-hmm.
overturn it one way, it's like, oh, now it's set the wrong way. And that's what I'm hearing, is that you're in this space of recalibrating, and you're not alone. We've all had moments of recalibrating. Your circumstances are unique to you. The overarching pattern is
Yeah.
welcome to the human race.
Mm-hmm.
But in those moments of recalibrating, it gets messy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we overcorrect and we have, oh, look, I had a great day. I was regulated. I supported my friend in the hospital. Everything's going really well. And I've recalibrated, and the nervous system goes, well, no, now we're just going to rebalance, or the universe or the particular, whatever it is that's driving it. But there's
Yeah.
something that happens to rebalance that. And it's jarring in the, like I said, that moment where I was literally being abused by the tenant and celebrated in the exact same moment by, it's like this contrasting
Yeah.
energy of, and the disparity in those contrasts is hard to take. And that's what I'm sensing you've got going on. You've got these massive contrasts, and it feels like the worst day ever because
Mm-hmm.
it's contrasted with the best day ever.
Yeah.
And I had to keep reminding myself, when I first started recovering from PMDD, what feels like a really bad day now with my PMDD, where I have like that big flare, which is part of what contributed to Mummy Meltdown on Thursday. It
Mm-hmm.
was deep luteal. I was running a 5-day challenge. I'd driven to Sydney. Like, there was a whole bunch of factors that contributed to why I was dysregulated. And it felt like one of the worst moments ever. If I rewind 5 years, that moment was probably so far below my best day ever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so far above my best day
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, because that set point is rewiring, and that doesn't change our perception of it. It doesn't change our perceived experience. I would guarantee the way you've been going through. So yesterday, the car accident, I get that there's ramifications, there's emotions around that.
Mm-hmm.
You've handled worse, and I know you've handled worse. You might not believe me yet. That's okay. You don't have to yet.
It's
I'll
funny,
just
in the
plant
moment
that
I'm like, what are
seed
you talking about? It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Um,
I guarantee you it's not.
well, I've handled at least 3 stints in the hospital where my life was legitimately in danger.
Yeah. So there you go.
The 3 that I can think of, right? So, um,
Yeah. So you've
and stints in
handled
the
worse. You've
hospital
had
with loved
worse.
one's life in danger, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, I handled
And
being an
that's,
unaware system.
yeah. See, there you go. So it didn't take
Yeah.
much to find where you've handled. So and it can feel like the worst day ever. And I don't want to take that
Mhm.
away from you, that those feelings are valid and they're big and they're intense. And that's okay. And it's okay to want to stuff them in the circle and tell sadness to just sit there and be quiet for a minute. That's
Yeah,
okay too.
and we have also been good about not just being like, no, everything's great and everything's fine, because everything is not fine. This is going to be a massive pain in the ass to deal with, because
Yeah.
it's not just there's various other surrounding circumstances that make this more difficult than it otherwise would be, and
Yeah.
so it's a huge fucking pain in the ass that nobody wants to deal with. So I woke up this morning as Julian, which we're Julian again. I don't know when I came back. It's been weird. And it was one of those days where like I thought I was crazy and making it all up because the whole system was silent. Almost
Yeah.
like, hey buddy, why don't you take it today? Right? You got it. you go, right? So
That
it is
unfamiliarity
hard.
again, though, of the system is silent, and then you start to
Mhm.
question because it's unfamiliar, and unfamiliar is dangerous.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a system because you've watched us switch multiple times just on this call.
Just in the
So
last
I
5
know
minutes.
it's yeah, the last 5 minutes we just switched again. So oh God, we're doing it again. It's okay. No, I didn't mean that to sound bad. It's switching is how it's part of how we regulate and exist. Hi,
And that's
Amy.
okay. Hi.
So see, obviously we're a system.
Yeah.
Um, Bye, Julian. But it's also I think what Julian was trying to say stupidly was, oh, that was mean. I'm sorry. I didn't mean sorry. I really didn't. Oh dear. It's easy to hurt each other's feelings inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Was
get
that
that.
we can also recognize that this is all really sucky, and we don't have to pretend it's not sucky.
No,
Um,
no, not at all. What I'm inviting a slight shift in perception of is, and I don't mind this is the worst day ever. So yesterday I had a tiny meltdown. I put myself up to be in a summit, and I didn't hear back. So they said they'd get back within 24 to 48 hours if I was successful. Otherwise, you wouldn't hear from them because there was too many applications, like a job
oh,
application. I'm like, all right. So that was two
okay,
weeks ago. I put myself in to do this summit, and I didn't hear anything back. And I'm like, great, they didn't opt to go with me. I'll move on. I'll do other things. I'll live my life. Yesterday, I got an email saying you have been accepted, and the deadline for your submission is in 2 days.
what?
And I went into, and it was all of the who do you think you are? You can't speak at a summit. You got no cap. Like, what are you
Mm,
doing? And so I'm in this meltdown, and my husband comes out, and I'm in meltdown mode, and I want to go, Amy is shit, and why did she think she could possibly ever do this, and blah blah blah. And so I
mm-hmm,
respect that this is the worst day ever. I get that that's the
mm,
energy, and that's okay. Anyway, he said, but you can do it. And I'm like, I can do it. That's not the point right now. The point right now is that I am shit and I need to whinge about this. He said,
yeah.
I get it. You are not a quitter, but you are a complainer, and you will get it done, but you're
Mm,
going to complain along the way. I'm like, yep. And for the next 48 hours, I'm going to be hell to live with because I'm going to complain
mm-hmm.
about it. And he's like, well, that's all right. Work just reckon I'm going to work for the next 12 hours. So you can
Oh,
do
well, there you
whatever you're
go. He
doing.
gets to go drive his choo-choo train while you
He gets to go drive
yeah.
the train while I have a
Mhm.
meltdown about I'm not good enough and how do I put together a recording in 2 days. The reality
Yeah.
of which is I'm probably better off with a 2 day deadline than a 2 week deadline based on all of my preferences and patterns and
Well, if
things.
you had 2 weeks to do it, you would take 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'd had 2 weeks to do it, this energy would have lasted 2 weeks instead of 2 days.
Mhm,
And this morning I've woken up and I'm feeling quite light, and I'll actually probably record it when we finish this. The My point in that is in the moment, it's okay to have those big emotions amplified by big words.
mm,
And when we're ready to ground ourselves, can I pull off recording a video for half an hour talking about something I'm passionate about? Well,
mhm,
maybe based on what I'm doing in this moment, I can. Like, it just,
mhm,
and I invite you, like, if you want to stay in that this is the worst day ever and I want to complain, I'm not going to quit, but I am going to complain. I get that and I'm here
mhm.
for it. And at the same time, more for the audience than for you, you'll pick it up. And I know you'll pick it up when you're ready. It's not the worst day ever. You've handled worse than this before. You've overcome so much and you've come so far. And I see that and I acknowledge that in you. And when you're ready, which doesn't have to be right now, it can be in a day or a week or a month,
Mhm.
you'll see that. And you'll see that this is just another opportunity for you to recognize how far you've come as a system.
We did
Because there are,
actually this morning, we did more gratitude, and one of our gratitudes was this happened, so this would be an opportunity for us to keep growing.
yeah,
And so we listed this very thing in our gratitude journal this morning, and then when talking to some of our roommates about it today. We said we were seeing it as, it's shitty and sucky and we don't like it, but we're also recognizing the opportunity. And it may actually be sort of the universe's way of saying it's time to do something we were thinking about doing anyway. We have more cars than we need, and this one that got wrecked is the most expensive one to maintain, and we had been considering getting rid of it, even though it's the most fun, which is also why it's the most expensive. But we don't need it. We have 3 more vehicles and we have been doing some downsizing, and so we've been doing that. And then today we chose to show up too. We thought about canceling everything and telling everybody to fuck off, but we didn't. We showed up here, and we have a couple more things later, and we're going to show up for those. So
Which
I mean, I think we're doing okay.
absolutely. And it's okay to have the big emotions at the same time. It's okay
It
to
is. I said fuck, and I don't normally say fuck.
I say fuck a lot.
Well, and some of us do too, but I don't normally.
I was gonna say there's parts of you that do as well.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Oh, goodness.
I don't even know who that was in my head.
One of your parts?
One of my parts. And no, we're not saying that out loud.
Oh. Ooh, now we want to hear it.
My husband works for the railway. There are a lot of swear words that I'm exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
My
And you get all the fun swear words in Australia, the ones we're not allowed to say here.
my favorite word at the moment in the contrast between America and Australia, especially in the personal development space, is the
Mm.
word rooted.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
as far as I can tell, in America, it means like grounding energy and deepening your roots. And
Mm-hmm.
the word I would use, I think, that would be the equivalent is grounded. In
Mm.
Australia, rooted means fucked. Like it just is.
Oh, as
And
in
so
like
there's,
messed up, like you're in
yeah,
you're
as
in
in,
trouble.
yeah, yeah. As in, like you're
Mm.
screwed. You're like, this is not going to work
Mm-hmm.
out well for you. It's And so I'm reading all of these landing pages. It's like, I'll help you get rooted. I'm like, no, no. Like,
No.
I just- the 5-step program to rooting. And I'm just like, that's not what it means here. It's just
Mhm.
so far removed. And I know it's not what they mean, and I can read into what but I can't. Like the inner 12-year-old is like, they said rooted. And it
Mhm.
is literally synonymous with, and it's not seen in the same swear word, which is why it's used so often. So
Mm.
at school, if you'd said that's fucked, you'd have got in trouble. But you could say that's rooted, meaning exactly the same thing, and it
That
wasn't
seems
considered a
silly.
swear word.
That
It's
you
definitely
can
silly.
convey the same meaning, but you just use different letters, and somehow now it's not okay.
The whole concept of the language and swear words is
Mhm.
absolutely silly. But yes, the word rooted definitely, it just amuses me because it's literally the opposite of what they're meaning it to
Mhm.
mean in the context here. Trying to bring us back somewhere. Oh, the thought in my head was a part of me. My husband is on the railway. My teenager, who's not a teenager anymore, started work on the railway and came home and started using the C word, which I
Mm.
will not say. I and again, it's letters and I shouldn't care. And whoever is currently in charge of the voice does care.
See you next Tuesday.
Yes. In Australia, we have a state, the Northern Territory, and so it
Mhm.
abbreviates to NT.
Oh.
And there is a whole marketing campaign about see you in the NT.
Oh, dear. They did that on purpose.
Well, and there are mugs where it is like literally the letter C U in the
Mhm.
NT underneath it. Like there is a whole So Australia's marketing industry clearly doesn't care about the 4 letters. But something inside me does.
Don't you have a beer or a wine or something too that has some kind of
Probably.
dirty marketing? I don't know. You get all the fun, dirty stuff.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
It's to go out to that's the government marketing campaign for tourism has gone
Oh,
out
right.
with like, I'm not talking about some Aussie in a pub, though the government in the Northern Territory probably is some Aussie in a pub, but it is the government-endorsed marketing for see you in
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Oh dear. You have one called Dirty Granny?
Oh,
Oh no,
probably.
then you have one I don't even wanna say. Dirty Granny, I can say. The other one I don't wanna say, when you spell it out, it looks I'm gonna type it in the chat so you can say it.
So I can say it. Why are we deferring that to
You're
me?
Australian. Well, because if you see it spelled, it's just the guy's name and the cider, but then when you say it all together
Yeah, I've got the
You wanna
chat.
say it?
So Dickens cider. Oh dear.
Say it fast.
No.
Mhm. And they
Yeah,
have commercials where they say, "My mom really likes."
now I've got the Cotties song playing in my head,
Mhm.
which was it was a cordial song. It's my dad picks the fruit that goes to Cotties to make the cordial that I like best. It's gonna be stuck in my head all day.
Mm.
However, the parodies that we made of that when we were in primary school,
Oh. Mhm.
it was a very clean and wholesome song that Australian
Mhm.
children got hold of and corrupted. I have no idea. I had a thought to bring us back on track, and now I have completely lost it. I don't know. I don't think we've moved so far away from luck. We definitely moved into exploring the power of thought, the power of the emotions behind the thought, the
Mhm.
power of surrendering. We definitely covered the uncertainty certainty model. That model is in the 3P library to bring us back to if you want to join the community. I told you there was a surprise.
Yeah.
If you want to join the community, if you want to be a part of the conversations, by all means, come join us in the community. We have intentional focus sessions that run every couple of days, and the
Yeah.
conversations are not all that different from today's conversation. And we try and get some cleaning or co working or whatever it is that you want to get done at the same time.
Mhm.
I will also pop a link to the summit that I'm speaking in because that's like a week away if you want to come to the summit. And I am talking about how to build a team of inner champions, which is all about connecting with and acknowledging the shadows within, acknowledging that they're welcome at the kitchen table as well,
Mm.
and navigating. I know Ian and I definitely have more voices than most, and they're far more prominent. But all of us have those parts within that we are trying to navigate. The part of us that says that we should say the C word out loud, the part of us that says that we shouldn't. And how do we reconcile? Because as Ian
Oh,
said at
if
one
we were
point,
Amber right now, we would be saying all of those things out loud. The C word and the cider. Hi, Amber. You thought I didn't see you lurking over there.
I am, the we do have those parts within us, and the issue isn't the parts. The issue is in how do we make decisions that allow all of the parts to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. And that's what we're talking
Mm.
about, how to build an inner team of champions and allow our critics to become our companions on our journey. So if you want to know
Mm.
more about that, click the link, go and join the summit. If you want to join the conversations in general, click the link and join the community. And I am thrilled that you got this far in the conversation. Thank you very much, Ian.